I was given the task to talk about decent work, and I said, I don't know anything about that. I really don't. It's the only thing for me is meaningful work. And so that's what I'd like to talk about tonight, and my continuous journey to try to find it. Because I think I find it, and then it's not enough, and then I need more. So for me, it's not what people call work or a job. The things I do in my life have always been what I call a calling. And the only way I can talk about this and sort of try to convey is not in theory, what's good for everybody, but my own story. So what you're going to hear is my own story, how I see the development of me trying to find meaningful work. So this was my backyard when I was growing up. I was a pretty privileged kid. My dad was a high school principal. I came home from from school, and my after-school routine was jumping in a boat, swimming, or in the wintertime, skating and playing hockey on the lake. I had every lesson. I had swimming lessons, curling lessons, hockey lessons, music lessons, scouts, you name it. My dad, he was a highly educated man, and my mom was a housemaker, but also a pianist and piano teacher. At the age of 13, I decided I wanted to become a concert pianist. It was the only thing in my mind. I was one of those lucky kids who just kind of knew I wanted to do that. My mother was not happy. She wanted me to be a doctor. She thought that would bring me happiness, prestige, money. So it's interesting, my father just wants me to be happy. And my mother thinks that education and prestige will bring me happiness. So I lived my whole life with that contrast and that struggle that I had with my parents, and still have, by the way. So, church or Beethoven? I was a very introverted kid. You just had to look at me sideways and I'd turn red in the face. On Sundays, I would fake illness and stay home from church. And I'd listen to Beethoven. I'd blast it for hours, hoping that they would stay later and later. My grandmother tells the story of me getting bundled up to play hockey on the ice rink, and that I would go by the piano and tear my gloves off and rip through some piece of music that I was studying, and then put the gloves back on and go out and play hockey. So music was always an anchor for me in everything I did. I got lots of opportunities. I come from a place of privilege, really. I went to school, I went to university for 6 years, did my graduate work here at Western. But I met this woman in my first year of university, a really famous world-class pianist, Cécile, and she invited me to come and study in that little town in the Pyrenees in the south of France. So I spent many years in that town, studying and refining my artwork, and eating lots of French food and drinking French wine. I was already performing when I was at university, and my career got bigger and bigger, and I was in a lot of hotel rooms. This is a picture of me at the Glenn Gould studio, CBC Radio, getting ready for a performance of a live broadcast. And these hotel rooms, after a while, I don't know if you can imagine this, like you're all hyped up, you give a concert, you got to do a social afterwards, and then you go back to your hotel room, you're so wound up, there's nobody there, there's a television, do I turn it on, don't I turn it on, is there anything to watch? And it becomes a cycle of incredible existentialism and loneliness. It did for me anyway. I know a lot of my colleagues feel the same way after many years on the road. At the age of 40, I had bought a house, fixed it up, and here in London, and I remember this day standing in my living room. I had achieved a lot, in my opinion, my goals, my checklist, and my question was really, is this the way it's going to be? Is this how my life's going to play out? I'm going to continue to do this for the next 20 years. And so here's a few little diagrams, contrasts of, we were born and then we go through this cycle and we die. And then, of course, Rumi says, this moment is all there is. Things to think about. So I bought Aeolian Hall. So the story is, I was co-founder of a national conservatory, the Canadian National Conservatory of Music, and I was really interested in curriculum development and teaching, and I thought, can establish a music school better than anything that's been here in London. We lost our conservatory on Windermere Road a number of years before. I'll just get us a place. I'll sell my house and get us a place. At the time, Aeolian Hall was on the market, and I had performed here when I was a student. And I had remembered how great the hall was. And so I was on tour in France and finished the negotiation for the purchase of this hall. From there, came back, had a week to pack and a week to give 6 concerts with 4 different programs. I arrived living here illegally. Yes, there are some things that I did illegal in my journey. So what that was, is I was waiting for the firewalls to be built on my living unit downstairs. And every time the inspector would come, I would break the bed down and say, oh no, I'm not sleeping here yet. I had no clue what I was doing. And, I'm a concert pianist. What do I know about elevator maintenance or marketing or keeping a set of books for shows? Not much. But we had these great people from the community who came in and volunteers with paintbrushes and hammers and lots of advice. And I learned very quickly. And to this day, it's the volunteers really that keep this place alive. They're really responsible for the success story here. I got a little bit of accolade after I bought this place. Boy wonder, rich boy, buys and saves historic site from demolition. It was sort of like that. So they put me on this Creative Cities task force at City Hall. And it was about, investing in art and culture and how it has an economic spin-off. And I thought, oh, that sounds like I love art and culture, so I'll do my best to help, right? And there were a lot of developers and counselors on this committee. I think I was really the only cultural worker. In meeting number 3, the chair of that committee said, listen up, people. This has nothing to do with art and culture. It has to do with money, big money. So I almost quit, but I thought maybe I should stay and learn. And then I also joined the board of the BIA here, the Old East Village BIA, where I sat for 12 years, pretending I was some business person who could help bring development into the community, and playing that role, helping bring the Medallion Corporation to build these buildings behind here. It was really, really outside of my realm of experience, but I tried my best. In the early days, I had one of my staff members said, you should get Buffy St. Marie to perform at the hall. And I said, who's that? And so I went to pick her up in Toronto and drove her back. My friends were ready to kill me. I fell in love with her. Everything about her, the qualities that she has as an activist, being banned during the Vietnam War, blacklisted, to just like her Cradleboard project, which is an indigenous teaching curriculum, her artwork, her constant just reinventing herself and trying to make a difference in the world. It's just been phenomenal for me. And we've become close friends, and she just continues to be that person that I strive to be. I did different kinds of presentations. I got asked to do a TED Talk. I did it on building self. I was beginning to think the things that I undertook was starting to form who I was. And on the right there, you'll see a picture of me doing, well, I'm not in the picture there, but I did presentations for Johns, who preyed on sex trade workers. So that was a real, that's a whole long story. I sat on a federal task force for sex trade and human trafficking because it was the first thing I dealt with when I bought this place, and I really wanted to do something to make a difference. So, started a few programs that paired together these new values about making a difference in the community and music. And you'll see our free after-school music program, and this is our celebration chorus in the summer, but normally our men's chorus, which is all about community and making, through song and through music, change in our community. I got to attend the first ever Positive Education Conference in Dallas, Texas, the work of Martin Seligman, who has a new model for well-being, a foundation for well-being. And I came back and I thought, I'm going to create a social curriculum for our music program based on this. Got lots of awards, lots of accolades, but really, it's not very helpful. We need money, and the more awards you get, the more people think you have money, so dig in your pockets. So, well, here's what I do to try and make sure I'm doing meaningful work. I ask myself questions regularly. Am I at the right place at the right time doing the right things? If I had 6 months to live, would I change anything I'm doing? Can I have a great life and still contribute to making the world a better place? Why are we here? How's this all happening? What's this all about? Am I being brave enough? I didn't invent these questions. Both people in life showed them to me. Here's my call to action. Be brave. Find good questions to ask yourself. Make the changes you need to make. Build yourself and choose work that feeds your soul. Make this your meaningful work. Thank you.